Hey everybody, it's me, Professor Matthew Reinhart, and today we are going to do another pop-up masterclass. I found my little pop-up avatar again.
Hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here teaching you.
Yes, I am. Hey class, I hope you guys all out there and gals have enjoyed some of the classes we've done in the past. We're going to learn something a little different today, a little new, but not new, maybe new for you, but not new for me. In fact, this mechanism I started using back in 2006, 2007 when I was making a book. I'll get right into it. This was it, the Star Wars, A Pop-Up Guide to the Galaxy. And I started using this mechanism, and I don't even know where it came from. Being the self-important person that I am, I think that I'm the one that came up with it, but I would not be shocked if somebody else came up with it. And not being terribly self-centered, I never named it after myself. I should have. There should be a pop-up out there named the Reinhart, right? Maybe not. Anyhow, this mechanism I started using back in 2006 when I was making this book, and what it is, it's very interesting. It's actually based on a layer, and it's a layer. It's actually an inverse layer. So the parts of the layer actually cross over each other. One goes through the other, and it makes the layer move in a reverse fashion on the opposite side. So I like to call it the reverse layer. All right, and or it's kind of like a lever. And let me show you some pop-ups. Okay, that have it. This Rancor monster here pop-up. There are quite a few reverse layers. I'm going to show you one right there. See it? It's right there. So it crosses. It's actually a layer. Just this part is, at least. And it actually crosses itself and goes under. It goes through the other layer. And instead of this area here, this surface here, moving it in sync with this layer here, they actually go in opposite directions if you look at it. So this is the reverse layer, and I used it several times in this book. I'm trying to figure out all the different places where it was used. But what it does, what's really cool about it, I don't know where else. That was the main one where I remember using it. Right there, as you can see in that pulley in his arms. What's great about it is, and actually it's also happening on this arm too. You can see actually this layer going right through and pulling it. And so this and this are opposite directions. It's hard to see because it all moves. But I was really learning a lot when I was making this book, especially about making joints on characters, because sometimes when we make a layer or something, the angle, the movement of whatever's on the other end of this doesn't move in the way we want it to. You know, with a layer, well, let's look at it. Shall I demonstrate? I think I will. Okay, so with a normal layer, let's use some of our cardstock here. Cut a rectangle like so. Make sure that the rectangle is so that these two sides are parallel to each other, this one, and these two are parallel. This one looks a little off. So I'm just going to fix it. And I'm just going to tape it down onto my base page. Here's my base page that I just made. And I'm going to use my pencil to mark the center. So I'm going to cheat because it's easier this way. And I'm taping down this layer. Now it's just there. We don't know where the fold is going to end up. Well, actually, it's going to find the fold, because watch what I'm going to do. See, I'm going to bend it outward. I'm bending it outward. I'm bending it outward. And look, it found its own fold. So we know about layers, right? We know that. Let's pull in close, cameraman. That would be me. Okay, so we know that this distance, maybe I'll use a pen so you can see it a little better. This distance from here to here, we're going to just call that A. And we also know that the distance from here to here that's also A, right? We know that, right? Because it's like a regular box. And with a box, two sides are the same, right? This side and the opposite side are the same. And so this distance from here to here is going to be B. And it's going to be B from here to here. And that's a regular old layer right there, right? If we look, I'm going to point. This surface here mimics exactly what this surface does. So whenever this surface moves this direction, so does this surface. Got that? See how they moved it in sync? And if we were to place another smaller layer, let's say we put one right here. Let's use a different color. That's confusing. Don't want to be confusing. Okay, let's make another rectangle. And we're going to tape this just right on here. Make sure that you're not sloppy. And we're going to find the fold again. What do? I'm just closing it and mash it shut. We're going to look again, and we're going to see that, again, this surface moves in sync and parallel to the surface on the other end of this layer. Just like that, and just like there. Okay? So easy stuff, right? We're going to do something a little different. So we're going to turn over our base page here. All right, and we're going to make, I think, in order to make this layer, this reverse layer mechanism, I'm first going to build it off of just a V-fold. I'm just going to stick a big V-fold in the middle of this. Everyone knows how to do this, right? If you don't, well then go back to some of my other videos and you'll learn a little bit more. I dropped my pencil. Dropped my pencil. Go back to some of my earlier videos explaining about V-folds. And you can, sort of get how that's done. But it's super easy. I just cut the corner off of a piece of cardstock. And again, I'm going to mark with a pencil my center, the center of my base page so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to tape my V-fold to the center of my base page, just like I usually do. Right, so our V-fold that we're going to base our reverse layer on has been taped to the base page, like so. And now I'm going to make a layer. I'm going to make it, I think, out of a different color. And I'm going to make a rectangle that's maybe a little long. And I'm going to make it a little thicker, too. Just want to make sure. Now, when you make your layers, some people, if you have like a square, make sure everything is square on your rectangle, measure it out. Like I'm very good at seeing, at this point, if something is off. I can look at it and sort of compare, but if you don't, what's the word I want to say? Thesaurus. Any ideas? What's the word I want to say? Don't estimate it. If you are not sure if something is right, be sure and measure it. Okay? That's what I meant to say. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. That looks a little big. I think I'm going to just chop it off a little bit. Alrighty. So I'm going to add this piece to our... Oh, now see, look what I did right there. You see that? I taped too far. So I'm just going to cut it so that it doesn't interfere with our mechanism. So sometimes that can happen. If you have too much extra tape, it can interfere with things. Let's pull in close. I think I'll use some more tape to tape it up here to the V-fold. And our layer is going to work off of the energy coming from this center V-fold. And we're going to close the pop-up. And what's going to happen? Well, that layer is going to find its fold. It's going to find the fold. See how I'm kind of just closing it shut and mashing it? And it found its fold. And it naturally found, you know, that distance from here to here. I'm going to mark where that point is. It found, I like to do all these marks, it found that same distance here and here. That's just naturally going to happen. Only this time, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to cut using, I would use an X-Acto knife, or X-Acto blade, or whatever you want to call a craft knife. I'm going to carefully cut a slot in our large layer here. Just like that. See how I did that? Okay, and it's just a regular layer. This is just a regular layer built off of a V-fold. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let's see, what color should I use this time? Use green. I'm going to make a rectangle that is this distance from here. It's going to be, I'm going to just call that to here. It's going to be, I'm going to call it C. Okay, so I'm going to make it this distance. So I'm going to take my piece of cardstock, I'll lay it on top, use a pencil, measure it. Maybe on over on this side, but I'll measure the opposite side too. And that way, and cut it across, just like that. And I know this is a pretty thick one. This won't fit through there. And that's why what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little double stick tape. You can also use glue if you'd like. And I'm going to just fold it in half, just like this. And doubling this over makes this little piece a lot stronger. I'm going to trim off some of the width on it. And I want it to be able to fit really well through that slot. See how it fits through there? And sometimes when I'm making a pop-up, I have to sort of take it apart in order to make sure all the pieces are going together right. And you can do it really carefully if you use the right kind of tape. You can use masking tape. This is very similar to masking tape. It's artist tape. But I'm just going to pull it up for a minute, and I'm going to add this new rectangle. It's kind of hard to see, I guess, with the... Let's mark it so you can see it better out there in YouTube land. Now you do not have to do this part. This is just so that you all can see it better. All right, so we're going to take this rectangle piece and we are going to tape it down so that, well, we first have to make sure that it can go through the slot. And I'm just going to tape it down right here. I used a little bit too big a piece of tape. I'm going to tape it down right there. Cut off the extra. Okay, so I've taped it down right at the fold where our V-fold is attached. Okay? And you can see that the distance is the same, C. But we're going to do this. We're going to slot that rectangle, that layer, and we're going to do it right through our layer. Okay, let's make sure that it goes through right. Yeah. See, sometimes you make mistakes. Oh, let's pull it up here. I made a little bit of a mistake. I want to make sure that it's going through that spot. So I made that mistake. So I pulled it up and I fixed it. Don't be afraid to do that. Like, I know that many young people I talk to are always afraid that they're doing something wrong, but they don't want, or if they do something right, they're afraid to like pull it apart and see what's going on. Don't be afraid to do that. It's okay. All right, so now we've got this rectangle piece coming through the slot. See how it's coming through? Like that, and it's pushing. If it looks like your slot isn't quite big enough, don't be afraid also to cut the slot to be a little wider. You want to make sure that there's enough space here and here on this side on each side of your prime layer that you're working through. You want to make sure there's enough there. And if it's really thin there, don't be afraid to add some cardstock that you might have like a strip of it. Never hurts for this sort of thing. If you feel like this is very thin in this area, it's not strong enough, I've just put some double stick on this strip. Go ahead and stick it on that space to give it a little doubled over strength. Because you need strength for this. You can't have, if you're going to have a slot, you can't have the slot that wide and expect this piece to hold on and be strong enough. All right, so we've got part of this mechanism working. We've got the layer and it's moving. And let's look at it sideways. Let's look at it this way. See how that's working? It's pushing up and coming out further and pushing. Look how that looks. So it's coming out and pushing. When it opens, it actually, this rectangle pushes through. This part of the inverse layer pushes through. It's kind of like it's almost like a piston pushing through that little slot, excuse me, from that slot. I mean, it almost looks like a tongue. See if you're like, see, look at it. I don't like you. If you only saw me now sticking out my tongue. But that's not what we're trying to do. Next up, what we are going to do is we are going to add another rectangle to the end of that. And I'm just going to, for right now, I'm going to make it about this big. Looks about right. And what we're going to do is we're going to tape it to this edge. Don't be afraid to use a little bit less tape. See what I've done here? I've just put tapes on the ends, but I left it open in the middle. It'll make the hinge here a little bit less difficult to push. If you make the hinge too heavy going across, then sometimes these mechanisms don't work as well. Okay, so now we just have this thing, this rectangle just sitting there. So next up, see, I'm gonna cut this part out of the way so we can see our reverse layer. So here we are, this piece. We're going to use a little bit more tape. We're going to put some tape right under here, just like that. We're going to close that extra rectangle, which is actually going to be the other part of our reverse layer. And now, we're going to tape it shut, and we mashed it and everything. Now watch how that moves. Look at that. It pushes out the opposite way. Look at it. So instead of this layer pushing it so that it's the same direction as this one below it, it instead goes the opposite way. Isn't that great? I love that kind of stuff. Isn't that cool? So now, like, the reason why I used to use it a lot, either in back when I was doing that Star Wars book, and then also when I've done other books like, let's see if I can pull one out. Let's see. Here's another example of a reverse layer, actually right on the on this first spread. Okay, see Osiris's arm. See how that's moving? That's one of the reasons why I like using reverse layers, because you can get some really good joints of characters. Things will move in the way that real characters might have joints and move. This is essentially why I started using this mechanism a lot, because I found that I couldn't get certain things to work correctly for me. It's very important when you're designing characters or other living creatures, that their joints are when you're making a pop-up, move in the ways that they do biologically. I mean, it makes no sense for his arm to go the opposite way, right? To fold away. So this was, if you look, let's look at it from the side. Even though he's got like sort of a, well, you can see that X, see that characteristic X, right? Let me see if I can point it out. Right there. So it goes through that X. That is the reverse layer working out really there. And it's nice because you kind of get this last minute movement and, you know, an extra surprise at the end of, you know, of course, this huge character popping up and out of the book. But then you also have this, and he's like, slap me some skin. Pretty cool. All right. Thanks, Osiris, for showing us what you can do with a reverse layer. So here is my reverse layer, and it's working. And so far, you know, we've gotten all the measurements. They're all perfectly right. But, everybody's got a big butt. Remember who said that? Anyone? Anyone in class? Does everyone remember what movie that came from? Pee-wee's Big Adventure. No one even knows. Anyways, so let me get back to this. So oftentimes when I'm working on things, I like to push it. I like to push things beyond the usual measurements. Now this way, when the pop-up is opened this much, more stuff happens, right? Because a lot of times when people are looking at my books, they go like this. Oh, that's so great. Blah, blah. You know, and you want something to happen in that first few, in those few inches. You want to have something move. So I always try to push things to the extreme. And so instead of this measurement being the same as this measurement, what I might do is make it a little longer. So let's take this out. I'm going to take this apart. Okay, and we're going to make another one. This time, so do I have any white cardstock? I mean, yeah, I've got tons of white. Let's see what I got. Let's make a new one. So we're going to just push it. We're going to go a little bit beyond what we our usual measurement. Now you can do it where your reverse layer has the same distance. You can do it when they're the same distance from here to here. You can also do, you know, that where they're equal, or you can do them when they push it a little. And I'm going to take the tape off. I'm going to see, that's the mark where it's the same. Let's go a little bit more. Let's just add a little teeny bit to the edge. Just enough. Let's cut it down. What did we forget to do? We need to double this up. So I'm just going to take another scrap of paper. Ow. I'm always hurting myself with this stuff. All right. I'm working on a new book right now and doing some interesting engineering, but in the process, I'm failing a lot. So it's frustrating, but exciting. Does that make any sense? Whenever I'm doing something new, there's a lot of failure time. So please, everybody, if you fail a little, you know, keep on trying. You know you're going to get there eventually. So now, this is the new rectangle that I made that's slightly longer than the previous one. And just like before, let's come back here. Just like before, I'm going to tape it down so that it goes through our little slot. Just like that. Okay? Feed it through the top layer. I'm going to tape that back down. Okay? And now, again, I'm going to tape this rectangle by just folding it back over. Now you can see how that works. Look at it, even flexes. This one flexes. Now, I have a good friend of mine who does some beautiful work with this mechanism and does a lot of these flexing, and it actually is a part of the the design that he's doing, and it's just beautiful. Well, for our purposes, we're just moving. We want to move our reverse layer. We want to move it sooner, so that like when I open it to here, look how much farther it's gone. Look how much farther. So we've pushed it a little bit further. Now, what could we make with something like this? I don't know. You think about it. But now we can see, you can tell that it's a little bit more extreme because this is bending over and flexing. So the measurements are not equal, but the movement is really strong and good. So sometimes you can use it when it's equal. Sometimes you can use it when this part of the reverse layer is longer, and it will help push that over more. So there's two different options for you, and I use these all the time. There's just so much you could do. Let's see, what can I make this into? What am I thinking about today? Let's see. All right, I did it. I made my card. I wonder what it could be. I wonder what it is I made with my reverse layer. Let's pull back and get a good look, because we need a lot of room for this. Let's get. All right, so I made. Whoa! Look at that. I made a sloth blowing a kiss. So where is my reverse layer? There it is, working on that arm and that elbow. See right there? So there's my reverse layer. And it actually lays on top of this. This is sort of one-sided V-fold riser on this side for the head. See how it like lays on top of it so it goes flat? Now, one thing you got to be really careful about is when this hits whatever surface is here. So you can see, you've got to really make sure that things don't catch inside there. And then this is a V-fold here for this other arm. And, you know, it's all built off of our one V-fold right there. So there is my very amorous sloth going, ooh, hello. Ooh, let me throw you a kiss. Pretty cool, huh? So that is, I mean, Who's had a sloth? Blow them a kiss. I'm very, thank you. I'm taken now, Mr. Sloth, Mr. Sloth, whatever you are. This is the reverse layer. All right, so see how that works? Pretty cool, huh, class? It's fun. There's all kinds of other things you could do with it, but this is just the start. Thank you very much for joining me in today's class, everybody. I think everyone's going to get an A on this one. I got a good feeling about it, and I don't give A's away very easily. So thanks for joining us, and keep watch for the next pop-up masterclass coming soon. If you got any requests, let me know in the comments, or you can also email me at my website, MatthewReinhart.com, and there is a link to directly email me. And if you have some ideas about what you'd like me to teach in the next masterclass videos, go ahead and do it. If you like the video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time, class. Don't be late. Bye-bye.
See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hee hee.